Hey Yellowknife, it's Tuesday, and that means another episode of Tuesdays on the Road with Mike. Today you'll join me on another scorcher as summer is in full swing, and we're going to talk about a survey that Century 21 Canada did just this past spring that measured kind of the sentiment amongst buyers and sellers in different markets. So without further ado, let's get going, buckle up, and hit the road. So as I was mentioning, this past spring, Century 21 Canada did a survey of over 1,000 sales representatives that asked them to kind of gauge the feeling amongst their markets between buyers, sellers, and just general overall market feeling. And the results were not really surprising. A lot of the information that came forward, in my opinion, would be very typical in terms of the sentiment that we're hearing in the 24-hour news cycle when you start talking about the big markets like Toronto and Vancouver and kind of what's going on in those real estate markets and how people feel about them. But I don't necessarily know that they translate well for us here in Yellowknife, and I thought we'd go over some of the information and see how it compares to here and what we can expect and what I feel our market sentiment is. So I'll be dealing mainly around 4 slides that Century 21 Canada put out. These are all on my Facebook page. I just posted them today. I've even posted a little bit of a poll on my Instagram story that is asking people how they feel about the market currently. So pop on over to the Facebook page if you want to look at these numbers in depth. Obviously I can't show them to you here while we're driving around in the car. So one of the questions asked of the sales representatives was how their sellers feel about how external forces will have an effect on their ability to sell their home. And by external forces, we're talking about interest rates, stress tests, taxes, and unique market conditions. So of those surveyed, 78.9% showed some level of concern about how external forces will impact their ability to sell. Concern being the key word here. External forces are always going to have an impact on your ability to sell, but of the agents surveyed, 78.9% suggested there was a level of concern, meaning negative. Of that 78.9%, 31.1% were very concerned, and the rest were somewhat concerned, but concerned all the same. So keeping in mind that that was in the spring, interest rates were still kind of heading up, I think there's been some pretty recent developments that should that survey be done again today, the sentiment might change a bit. For instance, interest rates are heading downward. We've just finally seen some movement on the stress test, making it a little bit easier, not having to qualify quite as high, the first time any downward movement in the stress test has happened. And when it comes to Yellowknife, our first 6 months in the market were incredibly strong. Our Yellowknife market had a great performance being up against last year. So while in spring of 2019 there seemed to be cause for concern, I would suggest that for sellers there's cause for optimism as we finish up the year and look to finish up strong, especially here in Yellowknife. The next question agents were asked were how were external forces affecting the buyer's experience? So the options were a little bit different and weren't really clear on this one, whether in a negative or positive light. But regardless, again, things like new taxes, stress tests, and market conditions are some of the external forces that we're talking about. So of the agents surveyed, 65% implied that the external factors were affecting the buyer's experience. Over 26% suggested it was affecting it a lot, while 39% suggested a fair amount. But what it isn't clear about is how is it affecting it? Is it affecting it in a good way or a bad way? Again, given that the survey was done in the spring, I would suggest that the implications are that things were maybe on a bit of a downturn. Again, still had the interest rates looming over our head as to what was going to happen. External forces are always going to impact the buying experience, but I think right now in Yellowknife, with these changes, with the interest rates trending downward, with the stress test lightening up a little bit, and our market conditions, it's a great time to buy, and the buying experience can be awesome. The next question was a little bit more of a wide open generic question, and it was the overall sentiment of my buying and selling clients is the following. On the buying side, 57.7% of agents suggested that their buyers are excited and calm, while only 26.6% reported nervousness, and that's pretty awesome. The buying experience should be an exciting experience, and the right agent should be able to make it a calm experience. Take all the stress, all the headaches, and download them onto yourself as an agent so that you can just enjoy the excitement of looking for and eventually buying your new home. Sure, there's going to be some nervousness built into that, and as my kids like to use the term nerve-sighted, it's become something that's a term in our house quite frequently. You're going to be a little nerve-sighted. You're going to be nervous and excited all at once, but it's good to see that most buyers, at least according to this survey done last spring, for the most part feel excitement. Sellers, on the other hand, was kind of a 50-50 split. The survey showed that 38.6% of sellers had that excitement, calm feeling, while 38.7% reported being nervous. And I can understand this. There's a little bit more skin in the game when you're selling. There's a lot more things to be nervous about. Can you get the price you need? Is it going to be enough to get you out of your mortgage and have enough money to move to the next house or to pay off some debts? There's a whole lot more variables in terms of selling, and the process can be a little bit more stressful. But again, the trick is to find an agent that's going to take as much of that stress, the headaches, the numbers, the contracts, all of the above, and load it onto themselves so that you can try to just enjoy the process of selling a home. And lastly, there was just a general question about market conditions that was posed to the realtors about how their clients feel about current market conditions. And I'll pose the same question to you here in Yellowknife. How do you feel about current market conditions? In fact, I just posted on my Instagram story this morning the same question: are you optimistic or concerned? At the time of shooting this, I had 2 responses and both optimistic, and I say good for you. I think there's reason to be optimistic. The survey from back in spring of 2019 suggested that 68.3% of clients expressed some level of concern towards the current market conditions. And again, I'm going to go back to saying that this was done in the spring, and I think we were in a little bit different market nationally in the spring than we are now. In terms of Yellowknife, the first 6 months were awesome. We had a strong spring. June held up, kept going strong. And I think we fit into the 14% that suggested that they were optimistic. I think there's reason to be very optimistic about this year as a whole. I think we're going to follow up the first strong 6 months with a good second half. And we're in for a good year. But I do want to know what you think. So please head over to that Instagram story today and vote. Go over to my Instagram page, Mike Lalonde Real Estate on Instagram, and vote on my story. Tell me, are you optimistic or are you concerned? Better yet, comment on this video. Are you optimistic or are you concerned? And let's have a chat about it. I want to know what your concerns are, and let's see where they stand. See how we can deal with those. Let's talk about them. So that's it for me today. I hope you're finding a way to stay cool and beat the summer heat in Yellowknife. We don't have it very long, so I'm enjoying it as much as I can. If that means sitting in my kid's kiddie pool on the back deck, I'm all for it. Check out this information over on my Facebook page. I just posted it today, these 4 slides that we just talked about. Feel free to ask any questions you have in the comments there. Ask me any questions you have in the comments on this video. Again, dialogue is the best way. I love to talk about this stuff. And head over again to my Instagram. Please check out my poll for today. It's what do you feel about the market in Yellowknife? Do you have optimism or do you have concern? Again, 2 people have voted so far to this point. Mike Lalonde Real Estate over on Instagram. Check it out. Thanks again for joining me in the car today. I look forward to doing this every Tuesday. It's fun to go out and go for a drive and talk to you guys. As always, anything you want me to talk about, please let me know. Message me, text me, call me, Facebook Messenger. I don't care how you get it to me. If there's something that you want me to address, let's tackle it. It's a great time for me to jump in the car and tackle it with you guys. Enjoy the rest of your week, Yellowknife. Talk to you later.